Daria had a way of blinking at the world like it was made of puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit until she dreamed them into shape. She was 10, maybe 11, with hair the color of roasted chestnuts and a gaze that always drifted somewhere past the clouds. While most children climbed trees or skipped stones, Daria wandered through the meadows, her arms outstretched like wings, catching pieces of wind that nobody else seemed to notice. This evening, the sky had melted into honey orange, and the field behind her family-esque cottage was drowsy with the scent of wildflowers. Daria lay in the grass, knees bent, hands clasped behind her head, staring at a sky that was beginning to yawn with stars. Somewhere in the distance, an owl murmured a slow question, and the tall grass whispered secrets in the breeze. She wasn't asleep. Not yet. That's when it happened. The breeze, which had until then been shy and ordinary, turned strange. It curled around her ankles first, cool and silken, like a ribbon wrapping a present. Then it swirled over her knees, her arms, her ears. And then it whispered, not in words, not exactly, but in feelings, in colors, in the music of dreams not yet dreamed. Daria's eyes blinked wider. She wasn't scared. The wind smelled like cotton candy and pine cones, and it shimmered with a soft gold glow. The breeze seemed to say, "Close your eyes and follow." So she did. Her eyelids dropped gently as the last rays of sun folded into the hills, and the wind whisked around her, lifting her not from the ground, but from within. At first it felt like floating in warm bath water. Then it shifted, like riding a memory, soft, curious, unexplainable. Her body remained curled in the grass, but her self, the part of her that loved stories and clouds and the color violet, began to drift upward. She didn't fall asleep, not in the usual sense. She daydreamed herself away, and suddenly she was no longer in the field. She stood at the edge of something impossible. Before her stretched a staircase made of silver feathers, each one glowing faintly in the twilight blue air. The steps shimmered, humming a soft lullaby with every footfall, rising into a sky painted in sleepy pastels, roses, lavenders, and dream dust gold. Daria took a step forward. A voice, not her own, whispered again, right in her ear this time. "You've entered your daydream, but every dream needs a direction." She turned and found no one, only the wind again, teasing her hair into gentle spirals. Then, from above, came a soft giggle. She looked up and gasped. Hovering just beyond the next few steps was a creature made entirely of light and soft jelly. "Am I dreaming?" "No," Mallow said, flipping another page. "You're imagining very, very vividly. That's far better." Just then, Mallow handed her something. Small, glowing, warm to the touch. A compass, but not one with letters. It had feelings instead of directions. Wonder, bravery, joy, curiosity. It spun gently and pointed straight ahead, toward wonder. Before Daria could ask more, the wind whooshed past again, playfully looping around her wrist, and Mallow, floating upside down now, winked. Go on, girl. Follow your compass. Daria took a deep breath, then stepped onto the next stair. Are you still with her? Still walking that stairway of stars with Daria? If your heart feels even the tiniest tingle of wonder, maybe, just maybe, you're meant to dream with us often. Tap that subscribe and like button, not for us, but for the next dream that's waiting for you. Who knows where it might take you? And with that, Daria followed the compass into the sky. The staircase shimmered beneath Daria's feet, the silver feathers gently shifting with every step. It didn't feel like climbing. It felt like gliding. The air tasted like lavender and vanilla, soft and cool in her chest, as if her lungs were filled with moonlight. Above her, the sky had grown wider, deeper. Stars blinked in slow rhythms, like the heartbeat of the universe, and clouds passed by in shapes that shifted too quickly to name. A fox holding a balloon, a castle with wings, a teacup with arms. Every now and then the compass in her hand would hum lightly, its needle gently adjusting, first toward curiosity, then joy, then once mischief, though she never figured out why. She climbed until she saw it. Floating ahead was a city in the clouds, delicate towers spun from sugar glass, rooftops stitched with stardust, and wind chimes singing lullabies in a language only the wind remembered. It was beautiful and entirely silent. As Daria stepped onto the cloud's edge, the feathers beneath her feet vanished, absorbed by the fluffy surface like soap bubbles. She didn't fall. She didn't sink. The cloud held her as gently as a hammock. She walked slowly, almost tiptoeing, her arms outstretched to keep balance. But the cloud didn't waver. It accepted her weight like an old friend. The buildings shimmered like they were made of sighs and forgotten wishes. She passed a cafe run by a bluebird in a vest, a carousel that spun with no riders but played music anyway. And then, at the very center of it all, stood a domed tower with books flying in and out of its open windows. Daria smiled. Of course, she whispered. A library. The doors opened with a soft whoosh, and inside the air smelled of peppermint ink and thyme. Books lined the walls in winding spirals, and ladders moved of their own will. Soft creatures with long ears and glowing bellies floated from shelf to shelf, tucking titles into their sides. Mallow, the floating librarian, was there again, lounging mid-air with a quill between his fingers. Ah, knew you'd find this place, he said, scribbling notes onto a page that glowed even after he finished. This, my dear, is the index of unlived lives, dreams that started but were never finished. Every book you see here, someone's what if. Daria's eyes widened. They're beautiful. They're waiting, Mallow said gently, waiting for someone to believe in them enough to finish them. One book drifted down to her, soft pink cover, golden thread binding. It opened with a sigh and whispered. She almost painted the moon, but then she got scared. Daria blinked. I want to meet her. She's not far, Mallow said, nudging her toward a door she hadn't seen before. This way, please. The land of almost awaits. The wind returned, curling gently around her feet and tugging playfully at her sleeves. Daria tightened her grip on the compass. Its needle pointed firmly to wonder. She stepped through the door, and instantly, everything changed. The staircase vanished. The soft pastel sky gave way to hues of twilight and bronze. Below her stretched a floating landscape, a world made of pieces, fragments, beginnings, half-drawn forests, rivers that started and forgot where they were going. Each part shimmered with the energy of stories that never got their ending. Daria took a step forward, and that's when she saw them. They looked up as she approached. "You don't look like you belong here," the girl said, clutching the box tighter. "Maybe I don't," Daria replied. "But maybe I can help." The boy stood up. "You're from the Daydream, aren't you?" Daria smiled. "Aren't we all?" They exchanged glances. Then the girl, with eyes the color of violets and worry, asked, "Do you know how to finish something that scares you?" Daria looked at her compass. The needle pulsed softly, pointing to bravery. She nodded. "I think I'm starting to." The boy with the tattered crown was called Milo. He had almost become a knight in his dream, but on the day he was meant to face the dragon of doubt, he turned back. His sword, half rusted, half glowing, still hung at his hip like an unfinished sentence. The girl with the music box was named Alia. She had once begun to compose a lullaby for her little sister, who had trouble sleeping, but every time she played the melody, a single missing note haunted her, and she shut the lid before the tune could end. They were kind to Daria, but their eyes carried the weight of paused dreams. They led her through the land of almost, where half things hovered in the air like unsent letters. There was a paper boat that could almost sail, a treehouse that almost stood tall, a song that nearly made the stars weep. Daria's heart ached for the beauty of all the nearlies, the in-betweens, the not-quite-yets. She had never seen a place so full of beginnings, waiting for someone to trust them enough to become. "How long have you been here?" she asked gently. Milo shrugged. "Time doesn't really work here. Some people come and go quickly. Some stay forever." Elia touched her music box. "No one can leave until they finish something they began." Daria tilted her head. "But what if you're scared to finish it? What if finishing it means it won't be as perfect as you imagined?" Elia looked down. "That's the problem. Every time I open it, I freeze. What if the last note ruins everything?" Daria didn't speak at first. Instead, she sat beside her, staring into the glowing river that ran beneath the bridge. The water shimmered with soft memories of children trying, failing, starting again. "I think," Daria said finally, "that dreams are not meant to be perfect. They're meant to be real." Milo sat across from them, fidgeting with the hilt of his sword. "I want to try again," he whispered, "even if I fall." Daria stood. "Then let's finish something. Together." They led her to the edge of the land, where the dragon of doubt lay coiled in smoke and shadows. Its body was made of fading thoughts and broken promises. Its eyes burned with questions like, "What if you're not good enough? What if it's all for nothing?" Milo trembled, but Daria took his hand. "I'll go with you." Together they approached the dragon. Daria didn't bring a sword, just the compass. Its needle spun wildly, then locked onto bravery. The dragon rose, towering and terrible, but its form flickered like static. It wasn't real, not fully. Milo stepped forward and drew his sword, not to fight, but to plant it in the ground. "I'm not perfect," he said, "but I'm trying." "That's enough." The dragon roared, then cracked like glass. Pieces of it drifted upward like ash and reformed as stardust, sprinkling across the land of almost. Elia, watching from behind, opened her music box. This time, the missing note found its way into her fingers. The tune floated upward, soft, slow, complete. As it played, the world began to glow. The river flowed without hesitation. The trees grew leaves on both sides. The paper boat finally sailed. The land of almost began to become. Milo's armor shimmered into place, no longer tattered, but proudly patched. Elia's lullaby danced in the air, joining the wind like it had always belonged there. And Daria, her compass began to dim, not in warning, but in farewell. The wind wrapped around her like a scarf, gentle and firm. "It's time," it whispered. "You've done what you came to do." Milo and Elia hugged her, each pressing something into her palm. Milo gave her a shard of dragon glass, cool and weightless. Elia gave her the final note of her lullaby, curled like a golden feather. "For remembering," they both said. Daria held the gifts close. The wind tugged once more. She turned toward the sky, her heart full, and stepped into the breeze. It lifted her gently, back to where her daydream began. The breeze carried Daria higher and higher, gently spinning her through clouds painted in dawn's first colors, soft amber, deep violet, and the faint blush of a sky remembering sunlight. She passed between ribbons of warm wind and laughter, through layers of music that smelled like cinnamon and clover, and finally, she returned to where it all began, her treehouse. But it wasn't exactly the same. The tree had grown taller, its branches more intricate, cradling the house like it was something sacred. The lantern above the door now glowed with a light that pulsed gently, like it had been waiting for her. And her notebook, the one that had always remained mostly blank, sat on her desk, wide open, pages rustling in the breeze. Daria stepped inside, a little stunned. Everything was just as she remembered it, but also more. The books on the shelves hummed softly. The floorboards beneath her feet were warm and alive. The walls whispered the echo of dreams, lived fully, not half. She approached her desk, and there it was. Her dream journal turned to a page that hadn't been there before. At the top, in her handwriting, it read, "The Land of Almost." And below it, a story. Not finished, but finally begun. She sat down, her fingers trembling slightly. Not with fear, with purpose. She began to write. Line after line spilled out of her. Milo's bravery, Elia's lullaby, the dragon's shimmer, the library of unfinished dreams, the feathered staircase, the compass of emotions. Every detail was vivid in her mind, not like a fading dream, but like something she had truly lived. And as she wrote, something magical happened. The compass on her desk, the same one that had once guided her through daydreams, began to glow faintly. Its needle twitched once, then pointed to a new word she'd never seen before. Awake. Daria paused, her pencil midair. Outside the window, the sky was still dark, stars blinking like distant eyes. But birds had begun to sing, the kind of song that doesn't just announce morning, it invites it. She looked around her room, the real one. Soft sheets, familiar posters, the tick-tick of the little clock by her bed. Had it all been a dream? She glanced at her nightstand, and there, quietly resting in the soft morning light, was the shard of dragonglass and the golden feather note, exactly as Milo and Elia had given her. So no, it hadn't been just a dream. It had been her dream. And she had lived it. Daria smiled softly, her heart as light as a dandelion seed ready to float. She rose from bed, notebook in hand, and whispered to the morning, "I think I'm ready now." to try, even if it's not perfect. She went to her window and opened it wide. The breeze rushed in, carrying scents of grass, promise, and warm toast from the neighbor's kitchen, and from somewhere far away, perhaps in a sky made of feathers, or a land where stories waited to be completed, came the soft chime of a lullaby as final note. She closed her eyes, let the air fill her lungs, and in that moment, she wasn't afraid of beginning anymore, because beginning was no longer something she almost did. It was something she was already doing. And somewhere in the library of unlived lives, a book fluttered its pages and changed its title to The Girl Who Finished Her Dream. Thank you for dreaming with Daria tonight. If her daydream helped you drift, inspired a smile, or planted a new dream of your own, then don't let it be a story left unfinished. Hit that subscribe button and leave a whisper of a like below. Your next dream awaits, and we'll be here, ready to guide you into it. Good night, dreamer.